Teacher takes her son to school and discovers she swapped him for an identical child. Jennifer Thompson sighed as she organized her materials for her first day back after summer break. The Portuguese teacher at Oakwood Academy was especially nervous, not just because of the new school year, but because her son Tyler would be starting second grade at the same school where she had taught for 15 years. It was during recess that something strange happened. As she watched the children in the yard, Jennifer noticed her son interacting with a group of students she had never seen before. The boy completely ignored Mason and Ethan, his best friends since preschool. When she called his name, Tyler took a while to respond, turning with a confused expression as if he wasn't used to hearing that name. "Tyler," she called again, walking up to her 7-year-old son. "Are you okay, sweetheart?" The boy looked at her, hesitating for a moment before answering. "Yeah, Mrs. Thompson, I'm fine, Mrs. Thompson." Tyler never called her that at school. It had always been Mom, even in the school setting, despite Jennifer explaining the difference between their roles many times. "Come here for a second," she said, leading him to a quieter corner of the yard. "Are you feeling okay? Did something happen?" "No, I'm good," he replied, avoiding eye contact, a behavior Jennifer had never seen in her son. Tyler had always been extremely talkative and expressive. When the bell rang, signaling the end of recess, the boy seemed relieved and ran back to his classroom without giving his mom the usual kiss on the cheek. Jennifer tried to focus on the classes she still had to teach, but her mind kept drifting back to her son's odd behavior. At the end of the school day, she found Tyler waiting at their usual spot, absent-mindedly fiddling with the new backpack they had bought together the week before. "Want to get some ice cream before heading home?" she suggested, hoping to create a moment for them to talk. Tyler's eyes widened, as if the suggestion were completely unexpected. "Can we go to that ice cream place near the park?" he asked, pointing in the opposite direction of their usual route. "Which ice cream place?" Jennifer asked, confused. "Frosty Treats." "Yeah, that one," the boy confirmed, though Jennifer was certain they had never been there, much less talked about it. The whole way to the ice cream shop, Tyler stayed quiet, curiously looking around as if he were seeing the neighborhood for the first time. At the shop, he ordered a flavor he had never chosen before, pistachio with dark chocolate, when his favorite had always been strawberry with caramel sauce. Back at home, the strange behavior continued. Tyler looked around the living room as if he had never seen it before and asked, "Where's the bathroom again?" That's when Jennifer's heart raced. How could her son not know where the bathroom was in the house he had lived in since birth? "Down the hall to the right, first door," and she replied, watching closely as the boy walked away. As soon as Tyler went into the bathroom, Jennifer rushed to his backpack and started searching. The notebooks were all labeled Tyler Thompson, but when she opened the handwriting notebook, she noticed something alarming. The writing was completely different from her son's. Tyler had always had round, neat handwriting, but the writing in this notebook was more angular and slanted. Her heart pounding, Jennifer kept examining the backpack until she found a pencil case that definitely wasn't the one she had bought for her son. This one was navy blue with yellow accents, while Tyler's was green with a dinosaur print. When Tyler came out of the bathroom, Jennifer tried to stay calm. "Son, did you switch pencil cases with someone?" The boy looked at the case in his hands and seemed slightly alarmed. "Oh, I think so. It must have been by accident." That night was one of the longest in Jennifer's life. She made Tyler's favorite dinner, pasta with cheese sauce, but he ate without his usual enthusiasm, pushing aside the broccoli he normally devoured first. At bedtime, Jennifer insisted on bathing him, something she hadn't done in at least a year, ever since Tyler had declared he was big enough to bathe alone. The boy protested, but she insisted. It was during the bath that her world completely fell apart. The small crescent-shaped scar Tyler had on the back of his neck from a fall when he was 3 simply wasn't there. Jennifer felt her blood run cold. This wasn't her son. With trembling hands, she helped the boy dry off and put on his pajamas. She forced herself to keep things normal, reading him a bedtime story like she always did. When he finally fell asleep, she collapsed into silent tears in the living room. Her mind raced with possibilities, all of them terrifying. Had someone kidnapped her son and replaced him with this lookalike. Was she losing her mind? Or was there some rational explanation she just couldn't see yet? She decided she needed help. She called her friend Monica, also a teacher at Oakwood Academy and the elementary school coordinator. "Monica, I'm sorry to call so late, but I need your help," she whispered, trying not to wake the boy sleeping in the bedroom. "Jennifer, it's almost 11. Did something serious happen?" "Yes, and I don't even know where to begin explaining. Can I come in early tomorrow and access the second-grade student records?" There was a pause on the other end. "That's not really protocol, Jennifer. You know those files are confidential." "It's about Tyler. I think..." Her voice faltered. "I think I brought the wrong boy home today." The silence on the other end was deafening. "What do you mean, the wrong boy?" "I'm not sure, but I think there's another child at school who looks exactly like Tyler. I need to check if there are any twins enrolled." After a few minutes of persuasion, Monica agreed to help. The next morning, Jennifer woke before her alarm after a nearly sleepless night. She mechanically prepared breakfast, watching every move of the boy she now believed wasn't her son. "You're dropping me off at Mrs. Melissa's classroom, right?" he asked as he ate his cereal. Jennifer froze. Tyler was in Mrs. Lindsay's class, not Mrs. Melissa's. "Of course, sweetheart," she replied, forcing her voice to stay steady. They arrived at school an hour before classes started. Jennifer left the boy in the library, saying she had some things to take care of before school, and rushed to meet Monica. Her friend was already waiting in the office, looking worried. "We went through the second-grade records," she said, leading Jennifer to a private room, "and we found something interesting." Monica showed her 2 enrollment forms. The first was for Tyler Thompson, son of Jennifer Thompson, enrolled in Mrs. Lindsay's class. The second was for Jason Wilson, son of Amanda Wilson, enrolled in Mrs. Melissa's class. The attached photos showed 2 practically identical boys. "Twins?" Jennifer asked, her head spinning. "Not exactly. According to the records, they're not related. The resemblance is just a coincidence, but the strangest part..." Monica hesitated. "What?" "Well, according to this, Amanda Wilson enrolled her son in early January, well after the normal registration period. She recently moved from Denver to New York. She's a corporate lawyer at a big firm." Jennifer examined Jason Wilson's file closely. The photo showed a boy identical to Tyler, with the same light brown hair, the same green eyes, even the shape of his face was the same. The only noticeable difference was a more reserved expression, while her Tyler always smiled openly. In photos. "I need to find my son," she said, standing abruptly. "Jennifer, wait. We need to think this through. If there really was a mix-up, we have a protocol to follow. The school has legal responsibility. My son could be scared, Monica. I need to find him now." At that moment, the office phone rang. Monica answered, and her expression quickly changed. "It's for you," she said, handing over the phone. "Amanda Wilson." Her heart pounding, Jennifer took the phone. "Hello? Mrs. Thompson?" The voice on the other end was calm and controlled. "I believe we have a problem to solve. My son, Jason, came home yesterday insisting he wasn't Jason but Tyler. At first I thought it was some kind of joke, but after checking his backpack I realized something was very wrong." Jennifer felt a mix of relief and dread. "Where is my son? Is he okay?" "He's perfectly fine, just a little confused. From what I understand, our boys look extremely alike and somehow got mixed up at school dismissal yesterday. I can bring your son to the school now, if you'd like." "Yes, please." Half an hour later, Jennifer waited anxiously in the school parking lot when a sleek black luxury car pulled up nearby. From the back seat emerged a boy who was the spitting image of the one she had taken home the night before. "Mom!" he shouted, running toward her. Jennifer hugged her son tightly, tears streaming down her face as she checked the small scar on the back of his neck. It was there, exactly as it should be. From the driver's side stepped out a tall woman dressed in an impeccable grey suit, her black hair pulled into an elegant bun. Amanda Wilson looked like she had stepped out of a corporate fashion magazine. "Mrs. Thompson, I presume?" she asked, extending her hand. "Yes, Jennifer Thompson," she replied, shaking the offered hand while keeping her other arm firmly around Tyler's shoulders. "I don't know how to thank you for bringing my son." "No need to thank me," The most important thing now is resolving this situation. Jason is with you, I assume? Yes, I left him in the library with the counselor. Amanda nodded. I'd like to take my son now, if possible. I have an important meeting in an hour, and my schedule is extremely tight today. Jennifer felt a slight discomfort at the woman's coldness. How could she be so concerned about her schedule when her son had spent the night with strangers? Of course, let's go get him. Inside the library, they found Jason quietly reading a book under the guidance of the school counselor. The boy looked up and, upon seeing Amanda, closed the book slowly, as if he wasn't particularly eager to leave. Mother, he said in an almost formal tone. Jason, gather your things, we need to go, Amanda instructed, checking her wristwatch. Jennifer watched the interaction between mother and son, noticing the lack of warmth that existed in her own relationship with Tyler. There were no hugs, no kisses, just a brief touch on the boy's shoulder. The school counselor suggested they all meet with the principal to discuss the incident and ensure it wouldn't happen again. Amanda checked her watch once more. I'll need to reschedule that for another time. My assistant will reach out to Wei. Set it up. Jason, let's go. And just like that, without further delay, Amanda Wilson and her son left the school, leaving Jennifer with an odd feeling in her chest. Something about the dynamic between that mother and her son unsettled her deeply. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like the video and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us as we're just starting out. Now, continuing. In the days that followed, Jennifer tried to return to normal with Tyler, but the mix-up incident had left invisible marks on both of them. Tyler seemed quieter, more thoughtful, and occasionally Jennifer would catch him staring out the window as if searching for something. What's on your mind, sweetheart? She asked one Saturday afternoon as they baked a chocolate cake together. Tyler hesitated, kneading the dough between his fingers. Mom, do you know Jason's mom? I only saw her once when she brought you home. Why? She's different from you. Different how? Tyler shrugged, clearly uncomfortable. She doesn't hug Jason, and she's always in a hurry, and their house... He trailed off as if he'd said something he shouldn't have. Jennifer sat beside her son. You can tell me anything, Tyler. What about their house? It's huge, Mom, like really big, but it feels empty. There aren't any pictures on the walls like ours, and Jason sleeps alone in a giant room. Jennifer absorbed this. Tyler shared a room with his older brother, Kyle, who was 15, and often begged for a room of his own. And that's a bad thing? Having a big room all to himself? Tyler bit his lip. Jason said he's scared to sleep alone, but his mom tells him he needs to be strong. A wave of compassion washed over Jennifer. She pictured the boy who looked just like hers, alone in a room too big, with a mother who seemed more concerned with her schedule than her son's childhood fears. Mom, Tyler interrupted her thoughts. Can Jason come over to play someday? The question caught Jennifer off guard. You want him to come? Tyler nodded eagerly. We got along. It's weird, you know. It's like looking in a mirror, except the mirror talks back. He laughed at his own joke. And he's never had homemade cake before, only store-bought. Jennifer's heart ached. The idea of a child never tasting homemade cake struck her as inexplicably sad. I'll talk to his mom, okay? We'll see if we can arrange something. Tyler's smile lit up the kitchen. The following Monday, Jennifer mentally rehearsed different ways to approach Amanda Wilson. The opportunity came naturally when she spotted the lawyer dropping Jason off at the school gate. Mrs. Wilson, she called, quickening her pace to catch her before she got in the car. Amanda turned, recognizing her instantly. Mrs. Thompson, is there a problem? No problem. Actually, I wanted to talk about something. Tyler would love to invite Jason over to play sometime. Amanda raised one perfectly arched eyebrow. I see. Well, normally Jason has English lessons on Tuesdays, swimming on Wednesdays, piano on Thursdays, and math tutoring on Fridays. Saturdays are for rest, and Sundays we have lunch with my parents. Jennifer was momentarily speechless at the packed schedule of a 7-year-old. Maybe on a holiday? She finally suggested. Amanda considered it. I'll check with my assistant and get back to you. I have to run now. Court at 9. And just like that, Amanda hurried off again, leaving Jennifer with that same uneasy feeling. The chance for the boys to meet came 2 weeks later, when Oakwood Academy organized a field trip to the Science Museum. Jennifer, being a teacher, volunteered to chaperone, which let her observe Tyler and Jason together. The resemblance was truly astonishing. Side by side, it was nearly impossible to tell them apart, except for small behavioral quirks. Tyler gestured excitedly as he talked, while Jason kept his hands clasped in front of him. Tyler would tilt his head to the left when curious, Jason to the right. Even more intriguing was how the two seemed to gravitate toward each other, like magnets. They shared snacks, exchanged secrets, and laughed at the same jokes. It was as if they'd known each other their whole lives, not just for a few hours on that chaotic evening. During the outing, Jennifer also noticed how Jason interacted with the other adults. Always polite, always formal, as if he'd been trained never to be a bother. So different from Tyler, who asked endless questions and tugged on the counselor's sleeves to show them his discoveries. On the bus ride back to school, Jason sat beside Jennifer. "Aunt Jennifer?" He rarely spoke to her, and never by name. "Why are you and my mom so different?" The question, delivered with the brutal honesty only children possess, left her momentarily speechless. "What do you mean, Jason? You laugh a lot, and you're always hugging Tyler, and you cook." "My mom never cooks, it's always Dorothy who does, and she's almost never home, only late at night." Jennifer chose her words carefully. "Well, Jason, every family has its own way of doing things. Your mom has a very important job, and I'm sure she cares about you deeply." The boy nodded thoughtfully. "I know, she always says she works so hard for me to give me a good life. See, she loves you very much." Jason looked out the window, his expression hard to read. "I guess so, but sometimes I wish she were more like you." The simple words hit Jennifer like a punch. What could she say to a child who, so young, already sensed the lack of warmth in his own home? The bus arrived at school, cutting the conversation short, but Jason's words echoed in Jennifer's mind for the rest of the day. 3 days later, she received an unexpected message from Amanda Wilson, asking for a private meeting. They arranged to meet at a cafe near the school that evening. Amanda was already there when Jennifer arrived, impeccable as always in her business attire, an untouched cup of coffee in front of her. "Thank you for coming," she said, gesturing to the chair across from her. Jennifer sat, noticing the faint dark circles barely hidden beneath the other woman's flawless makeup. "Jason told me about the museum trip," Amanda began, getting straight to the point. "He also mentioned he's been talking to your son a lot between classes. Yes, they seem to have developed a friendship." Amanda stirred her coffee without drinking. Since that incident, Jason's been different. He was never a particularly expressive child, but now he asks constant questions. "About what?" "It's like at your house, about how you cook, about what it's like to have an older brother," she sighed. "Last night he asked me why I'm never home to read bedtime stories." Jennifer didn't know how to respond. Amanda continued, "I've been a corporate lawyer for 12 years. I built my career through hard work, and that means sacrifices. Jason always understood that. At least, I thought he did." 7-year-olds still need their parents' presence a lot, Jennifer offered gently. "I know that," Amanda replied, a slightly defensive edge in her voice. "But I also believe it's important to show my son that women can have successful careers, that we don't have to choose between family and work. Of course, it's an important message. But now he's met you, a mom who bakes homemade cakes and reads bedtime stories, and suddenly my way of mothering doesn't seem enough for him anymore." The resentment in Amanda's voice was palpable. Jennifer felt uneasy, as if she were being accused of something. "Amanda, I don't believe there's one right way to be a mother. Everyone does their best with the circumstances they have. It's easy to say that when you fit society's ideal model of motherhood," Amanda countered. Jennifer took a deep breath. This wasn't the direction she'd expected the conversation to take. "I'm not here to judge your motherhood, Amanda. Not at all. If you must know, I have my own insecurities as a mother too. I work full-time, often bring work home, and there are days when I barely see my kids awake." Amanda looked surprised. "But Jason talked so much about how you're always present. A 7-year-old's impressions during one evening don't reflect the full reality of my family life, Jennifer said with a faint smile. I bet he didn't mention the times Tyler and I argue because I can't take him to the park while grading papers, or when I burn dinner because I'm prepping lessons. A silence settled between them. Amanda finally took a sip of her coffee, likely cold by now. What exactly did Jason ask? Jennifer inquired. He wants to invite Tyler to spend a weekend at our house. And then, Amanda hesitated. He asked if he could spend a weekend at your place too. Jennifer considered the situation. How do you feel about that? Honestly, I don't know. Part of me thinks it's a terrible idea. Another part, Amanda sighed. Another part sees how excited he got just talking about it, and I can't remember the last time I saw him so enthusiastic about something. If it helps, my husband and I would be happy to have Jason over, and Tyler would certainly love to visit you too. Amanda drummed her fingers on the table, clearly conflicted. I'll think about it, but there's something else bothering me. What? Jason mentioned he struggles with reading. He said Tyler noticed during the outing when he couldn't understand some informational signs. Jennifer nodded slowly. I actually noticed that too. During the trip, I saw him skipping words or mixing up letters. Have you considered the possibility of dyslexia? Dyslexia? Amanda looked genuinely shocked, but he gets excellent grades. His report card last year was practically perfect. Many children with dyslexia compensate for the difficulty with other talents or extra effort, and they often go unnoticed precisely because they're good students in other areas. Amanda covered her face with her hands for a moment, a gesture so human and vulnerable it completely contrasted with her polished appearance. How did I not see this? I'm a terrible mother. Jennifer reached out, lightly touching Amanda's arm. No, you're not. Dyslexia can be hard to spot, especially in bright kids like Jason. If you'd like, I can recommend some specialists. Amanda took a deep breath, visibly composing herself. I'd appreciate the referrals. I'll schedule an appointment as soon as possible. She paused. And about the weekends. Maybe we could start with lunch, this Sunday. If you're available, of course. Jennifer smiled. I think that would be perfect. That Sunday, the Thompson family, Jennifer, her husband Michael, Kyle, and Tyler, arrived promptly at the address Amanda had given them. It was a high-end gated community in one of New York's most exclusive neighborhoods. As Tyler had described, the house was truly impressive. 3 stories of modern architecture with massive windows and an immaculately kept garden. Amanda greeted them wearing jeans and a simple blouse, a surprising change from the formal suits Jennifer had always seen her in. Jason ran to the door as soon as the doorbell rang, his face lighting up at the sight of Tyler. "How you really came," he exclaimed, pulling Tyler by the hand. "Come see my room, I have tons of games." The boys disappeared upstairs while Amanda invited the adults inside. The house was elegant, but Jennifer noticed immediately what Tyler had mentioned. Despite being beautiful, it had an impersonal feel, like a magazine photo rather than a lived-in home. "This is Dorothy, who takes care of Jason and the house," Amanda introduced, gesturing to a middle-aged woman who smiled warmly. "And this is my mother, Elizabeth." An elegant woman, appearing to be in her 60s, extended her hand. "So you're the family who lent my grandson a mother for the evening," she remarked with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Mother, please," Amanda chided. Lunch was served on the terrace, an elaborate meal clearly prepared by a professional. The conversation flowed surprisingly well, with Michael and Amanda discovering shared interests in contemporary literature, while Kyle impressed Elizabeth with his knowledge of technology. The boys ate quickly and asked to be excused, eager to return to their games. The occasional laughter drifting down from upstairs was proof they were getting along wonderfully. "It's strange, isn't it?" Amanda commented, watching Jennifer. "Observe the boys racing up the stairs. How much they look alike and yet are so different." "Genetically speaking, it's quite unusual," offered Michael, who was a biologist. "Their resemblance is the kind of thing you'd normally only see in identical twins." "Actually, there's something I've been meaning to ask," Jennifer said hesitantly. "Which hospital was Jason born in?" Amanda seemed surprised by the question. "At St. Agnes Medical Center in Denver." "Why?" Jennifer and Michael exchanged a glance. Tyler was too, Michael replied. Around the same time, I assume. Early March? Yes, March 4th, Amanda confirmed, now visibly intrigued. Where exactly are you going with this? Elizabeth, who had been silent until then, set her fork down beside her plate with precise movement. Amanda, I think your guests are hinting at something quite serious. Jennifer felt her cheeks grow warm. We're not hinting at anything. It's just an interesting coincidence. A coincidence that two boys the same age, born in the same hospital, look nearly identical, Elizabeth questioned sharply. Are you suggesting there was some kind of baby swap? The table fell into absolute silence. Amanda visibly paled. That's absurd, Mother. No one is suggesting that. But the idea once spoken hung over them like a heavy cloud. Michael, ever the voice of reason, intervened. Such incidents are extremely rare these days, with maternity ward security measures. The resemblance is probably just one of those extraordinary coincidences that occasionally happen. Exactly. Jennifer agreed quickly. It was just a random observation. But the damage was done. The relaxed mood of lunch had dissipated, replaced by palpable tension. Amanda stood, smoothing her napkin on the table. Who would like coffee? Dorothy made a wonderful pecan pie for dessert. The conversation shifted to safer topics, but Jennifer noticed how Amanda occasionally glanced toward the stairs, where the boys were playing, with a thoughtful, troubled expression. When the Thompson family was leaving, Tyler hugged Jason tightly, promising to invite him over for soccer the following weekend. As the boys said their goodbyes, Amanda pulled Jennifer aside. About what was mentioned during lunch, she began quietly. Do you really think it could? Jennifer shook her head. It was just a careless remark. We shouldn't let a coincidence ruin what could be a wonderful friendship for the boys. Amanda nodded, seeming relieved. I agree. Let's forget about it. But the following week, Jennifer received an unexpected call from Amanda. I need to talk to you, she said, her usually controlled voice sounding agitated. Something happened. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps those of us who are just starting out. Now, continuing. They met again at the cafe near the school. Amanda was already there, a manila envelope in front of her. I took a DNA test, she announced without preamble as soon as Jennifer sat down. Between Jason and me. Jennifer's eyes widened. Amanda, I never meant to imply... I know. But once the possibility was mentioned, I couldn't stop thinking about it. And there were other things, too. Amanda took a deep breath. Jason never looked like me or his father. I always chalked it up to his stronger genetics. But after seeing Tyler, who looked so much like you... What did the test show? Jennifer asked, her heart racing. Amanda slid the envelope across the table. See for yourself. With trembling fingers, Jennifer opened the envelope and scanned the document. The result was unmistakable. The probability of maternity is 0.03%, indicating that the tested woman is not the biological mother of the tested child. My God, Jennifer whispered, feeling the blood drain from her face. There's more, Amanda continued, her voice oddly calm. I called St. Agnes Medical Center. There was a fire in the records department 8 years ago. Many files from the time our children were born were lost. Jennifer stared at the result in her hands, unable to fully grasp what it meant. Do you think Tyler might not be our biological son? It's a possibility we can't ignore, Amanda replied, especially considering the uncanny resemblance between the boys. Jennifer felt the room spin around her. The idea that the boy she had raised for 7 years, whom she loved more than life itself, might not be her biological child was devastating. At the same time, she thought of Jason, so much like Michael, with the same thoughtful, observant manner as her husband. What do we do now? She finally asked. Amanda straightened in her chair, slipping into the professional demeanor that seemed to be her defense mechanism. We need to confirm whether Jason is your and your husband's biological child, and whether Tyler is my biological child and my ex-husband's. And if it's true, Jennifer's voice faltered, if they were switched at the hospital? Amanda looked out the cafe window, her profile rigid against the afternoon light. I don't know. Jennifer, legally there are precedents for cases like this, but she turned back, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. How do you tell a child that the person they've always known as their mother isn't their biological mother? How do you undo 7 years of raising them? The implications were overwhelming. Jennifer thought of Tyler, his morning smiles, his tight hugs before bed, the hundreds of stories she'd read to him, the scraped knees she'd bandaged, the fevers she'd monitored through sleepless nights. I can't lose my son, she said, her voice breaking. Neither can I, Amanda replied with surprising steadiness. Whatever these tests show, Jason is my son in every way that matters. They locked eyes, two mothers bound by the same fear, the same fierce determination to protect their families. Let's handle this carefully, Jennifer proposed. The boys don't need to know about the tests yet. Amanda nodded. I'll arrange the tests discreetly. I have contacts at a trusted lab. In the days that followed, Jennifer lived in a state of constant anxiety. Every gesture, every feature of Tyler's was scrutinized under a new light. Was that furrowed brow just like Amanda's? Was his fiery temper, so unlike Michael's or her own, inherited from another family? Michael reacted with shock when she finally shared her suspicions. This is crazy, Jennifer, he said, pacing nervously around the room after the children had gone to bed. The chances of something like this happening are minuscule. I know, but Melissa's test results, there could be other explanations. Maybe the test was contaminated. Maybe Melissa isn't Jason's biological mother for other reasons. Like what? I don't know, undisclosed adoption, donated eggs, there are possibilities. Jennifer shook her head. Melissa isn't the kind of person who would hide something like that. Michael sat beside her on the couch, taking her hands in his. Let's do the test if it'll give you peace of mind, but Jennifer, no matter the result, Tyler is our son. We raised him, we love him. Nothing will change that. She nodded, tears silently streaming down her face. I know, I'm just scared. A week later, the results arrived. Jennifer, Michael, and Melissa gathered in her law office after hours. Melissa's ex-husband, Anthony, an engineer working overseas, joined via video call. The sealed envelope with the results lay on the conference table. No one seemed willing to be the first to open it. Maybe we should consult a specialist to discuss the legal implications before we look at the results, Michael suggested. I've already researched everything, Melissa said. Legally, after so many years, courts tend to favor maintaining existing family bonds, regardless of biology. So that means no matter what's in that envelope, we don't have to swap the children back, Jennifer asked, the idea too painful to consider. Exactly, Melissa confirmed. In fact, courts usually recognize that separating children from the families they know would be traumatic. A heavy silence fell over the room. Finally, Anthony spoke through the computer screen. Can we please just see the results? I'm 15,000 kilometers away, and this is already hard enough. With a nod, Melissa opened the envelope and silently read the document. Her normally expressionless face visibly paled. It's true, she said simply, passing the paper to Jennifer. There was a mix-up. Jennifer felt the world stop for a moment as she read the results. Michael, reading over her shoulder, let out a deep sigh. According to the test, Jason was the biological child of Jennifer and Michael, while Tyler was the biological child of Melissa and Anthony. How could this happen? Michael murmured. How did no one notice all these years? You've seen busy maternity wards, Jennifer said, her voice distant. Babies taken for tests, brought back to rooms. It must have been a simple mistake. A distracted nurse, a misplaced ID, a mistake that changed our lives forever, Melissa concluded. On the computer screen, Anthony ran his hands over his face, clearly shaken. What do we do now? He asked. The four adults exchanged glances, the same impossible question in their minds. How do we move forward with this knowledge? It was Jennifer who finally broke the silence. The boys are forming a friendship. They enjoy being together. Maybe we can let that friendship grow naturally while we figure out what to do. A gradual transition? Michael suggested thoughtfully. Let the children get to know each other better, get to know the other family. And in the meantime, do. We pretend nothing happened? Anthony questioned. We're not pretending, Melissa replied. We're giving everyone time to process this, including ourselves. They decided that for now, they would keep the results secret. The boys would stay with their current families but spend more time together. Alternating weekends, joint outings, frequent visits, a slow and careful integration. In the following weeks, a new routine took shape. Tyler occasionally slept over at Jason's house, and Jason spent afternoons at the Thompsons' home. The two families had dinner together once a week. For the children, it was an exciting adventure, an extraordinary friendship with someone surprisingly alike. For the adults, it was an emotional tightrope, every interaction loaded with hidden meanings and impossible choices. Jennifer watched with a broken heart, as Jason had the same mannerisms as Michael, the same laugh, the same way of tilting his head when deep in thought. On the other hand, she noticed unmistakable traces of Amanda in Tyler, his determination, his intensity, even the meticulous way he arranged his toys. Amanda, in turn, began reorganizing her professional life, delegating more tasks, and cutting back on travel to be more present. Her relationship with Jason was changing, growing closer and warmer. At the same time, she observed Tyler with a mix of fascination and pain, the son she never knew growing up in another home, calling another woman Mom. Anthony, surprisingly, seemed to handle the situation best. During his monthly visits, he started including both boys in his activities, treating them with the same affection and attention. "They're extraordinary children," he remarked to both families during a barbecue. "Both of them. And somehow all of you have done an incredible job raising them." It was a sincere compliment, but it carried a painful truth. Each family had missed the chance to raise their biological child. And now, it was too late to completely undo what had been built. The already complicated situation took a new turn when the principal of Oakwood Academy called Jennifer in for a private meeting. "It's come to my attention that there's a peculiar situation involving your son and Mrs. Wilson's boy," said Principal Margaret, visibly uncomfortable. "What do you mean?" Jennifer asked, surprised. "Well, the boys have been openly talking about spending weekends at each other's houses, and some parents have noticed their striking resemblance. Rumors are spreading." "What kind of rumors?" The principal hesitated. "That there may have been a baby mix-up at the hospital, and that you only recently found out." Jennifer felt her blood run cold. How had this leaked? "Principal Margaret, this is an extremely delicate family matter. I don't know how these rumors started, but I ask for discretion." "I understand and respect that, Jennifer. But as principal, I must consider the well-being of all students, including Tyler and Jason. If not handled properly, this situation could have significant emotional impacts on the children." Jennifer nodded slowly. "We're seeking professional guidance to handle this as carefully as possible. The school has an excellent educational psychology team. We're here to support the families, and especially the children, through this process." That evening, Jennifer told Amanda about the conversation with the principal. The two women, who now spoke almost daily, reached the same conclusion. It was time to seek specialized help. They found a child psychologist experienced in complex family matters, Dr. Hannah Sanders. After several sessions with the adults, the psychologist suggested it was time to start preparing the boys for the truth. "We don't need to tell them everything at once," she explained. "We can introduce the concept gradually, in age-appropriate ways. The important thing is that they don't find out from someone else." The first conversation with the children took place on a Saturday afternoon at the Thompsons' house. Tyler and Jason had spent the morning playing soccer in the backyard and were relaxed and happy when the adults called them for a talk. "Boys, you've noticed how alike you look, haven't you?" Jennifer began gently. The two nodded, smiling. "It's like we're twins," Tyler said excitedly. "Everyone at school thinks so. But we're not, right?" Jason added, more thoughtful, "because we have different families." Amanda exchanged a glance with Jennifer before continuing. "Actually, there's a reason you two look so much alike. A reason we recently discovered." The kids looked curiously at the adults. "Do you know what DNA tests are?" Michael asked. Is that the test that shows who's dad in soap operas? Tyler replied, making the adults smile nervously. More or less, Michael confirmed. They're tests that show how people are biologically related. Related how? Jason asked. Like families, Amanda explained. Parents, children, siblings. There was a pause. The boys waited, sensing something important was about to be revealed. We did some of those tests, Jennifer continued, her voice soft, and we found something surprising, something that explains why you two look so alike. Tyler leaned forward eagerly. What? You were both born at the same hospital on the same day, Amanda said. And it seems there was a mix-up. What kind of mix-up? Jason asked, frowning. The adults exchanged glances again. It was Michael who finally explained. The babies were accidentally switched, which means biologically, Jason was born as Auntie. Jennifer and my son, and Tyler was born as Aunt Amanda and Uncle Anthony's son. Silence. The boys processed the information, their young faces cycling through a range of emotions hard to decipher. So, Tyler was the first to speak, his voice small and uncertain. You're not my real parents? Jennifer's heart broke at the confusion in the eyes of the boy she'd raised. We are your real parents, Tyler, she said, pulling him close. We raised you, love you, take care of you. That makes us your real parents. We're just explaining why you and Jason look so alike. It's like in stories, Michael added. Sometimes being a mom or dad isn't about who brought you into the world, but who cares for and loves you. Jason, always the quieter one, watched Amanda with wide eyes. So you're, like, my biological mom? He finally asked. Amanda nodded, her eyes glistening with held-back tears. Yes, Jason, biologically speaking, yes. And what does that mean? Jason pressed. Do I have to move houses? No, the four adults answered in unison. No one's moving, Amanda assured him, kneeling in front of him. You'll keep living with me, just like always, and Tyler will keep living with Aunt Jennifer and Uncle Michael. But we want you to know the truth, Jennifer added. And we want our families to stay close so you can get to know, well, all of us. The boys absorbed the information in silence. Then, surprisingly, Tyler started laughing. What? What is it? Jennifer asked, confused. It's just, I always wanted a brother, Tyler explained, and now I kind of have a twin. Jason smiled shyly. It's kind of cool, right? Super cool, Tyler agreed. And now we have like two families. The adults exchanged relieved glances, though they all knew the children's full understanding would come with time, and there'd be harder questions ahead. But for now, the boys' simple, immediate acceptance was a balm to their troubled hearts. In the months that followed, the two families developed their own routine, a unique arrangement few understood, but one that worked for them. The boys spent alternating weekends at both houses. Holidays were carefully divided. School events had everyone in attendance. It wasn't a process without difficulties. There were painful moments, like when Tyler, after an argument with Jennifer, shouted that he wanted to go to his real mum's house, or when Jason, during a high fever, called for Jennifer, not Amanda. Each episode left marks. Every careless word opened wounds. Dr. Hannah Sanders continued working with both families, helping adults and children navigate the emotional complexities of the situation. Individual sessions, family sessions, sessions with the boys together. It was all part of the healing and adaptation process. A year after the revelation, Amanda made a surprising suggestion during one of their joint family sessions. What if we sold our current homes and bought houses close to each other? Maybe even in the same neighborhood? The idea was radical, but it made sense. The logistics of moving the kids around would be simpler. They could attend the same school. The families could be more present in each other's lives. After much discussion and planning, that's exactly what they did. Michael and Jennifer sold their house in a traditional residential area. Amanda sold her grand, distant mansion. They bought homes in the same gated community, just a few blocks apart. The boys, now 8 years old, were closer than ever. They were in the same class at school, participated in the same extracurricular activities, and had the same friends. It was as if the biological bond they shared, once revealed, had blossomed into a deep, instinctive connection. The families, in turn, developed their own kind of relationship, not exactly a conventional friendship, but a partnership built on mutual respect and shared love for the children. Jennifer found in Amanda an unexpected ally in professional matters, while Amanda discovered in Jennifer someone who helped her develop a more affectionate and present side to her motherhood. Michael and Anthony formed a solid friendship despite the distance, with Anthony becoming a more constant figure in both boys' lives through more frequent visits. Kyle, initially confused by the whole situation, eventually embraced his unique role as an older brother, not just to Tyler, but also, in a way, to Jason. He was the one the boys turned to for advice about video games and later about school friendships. 3 years after the discovery, when the boys turned 10, the two families gathered for a joint celebration. It was a party unlike any other, not just a birthday, but a commemoration of the unusual journey they had taken together. During the party, Jennifer found Tyler alone, thoughtfully watching the double birthday cake. "Everything okay?" she asked, sitting beside him. "Yeah," he answered after a moment. "Just thinking, it's weird, isn't it, how things happened?" "Weird how? Like if there hadn't been that mix-up at the hospital, I would have never had you and Dad as my parents. And Jason would have never had Mom Amanda. We'd be completely different people." Jennifer felt a lump in her throat. "Do you think it would have been better if the switch had never happened?" Tyler thought for a long moment. "I don't know, I can't imagine life without you and Dad and Kyle." He glanced over to where Jason was chatting excitedly with Michael. "And I think Jason can imagine life without Mom Amanda. And now we have all of us in some way," Jennifer added. "Yeah," Tyler smiled. "Like a super family." Across the room, Amanda watched the interaction between Jennifer and Tyler with a mix of emotions. Part of her still felt a pang of pain when she saw the biological son she hadn't raised, but that pain now coexisted with deep affection for Jason and immense respect for Jennifer. Jason approached her, following her gaze. "Is Tyler okay?" he asked. "Yes, sweetheart. Just talking with Aunt Jennifer." Jason nodded, satisfied, then asked with the frankness typical of a 10-year-old, "Do you still get sad sometimes, because of the mix-up?" Amanda looked at him, surprised by the insight of the question. "Sometimes, I feel a little sad thinking about how things might have been different," she admitted. "But then I remember that if none of this had happened, I wouldn't have you in my life. And that would be a much greater loss." Jason smiled. That smile, Amanda had learned to love deeply over the past 7 years. "Me too." He hesitated, then continued. "You know, Dr. Hannah says families come in all shapes and sizes, and that ours is just a little more complicated than most." Amanda chuckled softly. "Dr. Hannah is very wise." The party continued with its unique mix of people brought together by extraordinary circumstances. There were moments of awkwardness, of course, like when outsiders asked about the family's relationship, requiring complicated explanations, or when school forms needed to be filled out, raising questions about who was legally responsible for which child. But there was also so much joy. The joy of watching the boys grow strong and happy, surrounded by more love than most children could dream of. The joy of building something new and meaningful from a situation that could have been devastating. At a school that now had a full-time educational psychologist, in addition to the staff that Jennifer, now part of the school board, had insisted on implementing, both boys thrived academically. Jason, with proper support for his dyslexia, discovered a special talent for science, while Tyler excelled in communication and the arts. Amanda, who had initially feared the situation might hurt her career, found that her personal experience made her an even more effective family law attorney. She began dedicating part of her time to pro bono cases involving children and families in complex situations. Michael deepened his research in genetics, fascinated by the scientific aspects of what his family had experienced. He became a sought-after speaker at medical conferences, sharing the ethical and scientific dimensions of his story. Jennifer, inspired by how proper psychological intervention had helped her family, decided to supplement her education background with studies in educational psychology, becoming an even stronger bridge between students, families, and the school. Dear listener, If you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now continuing. When the boys turned 13, an unusual opportunity arose. St. Agnes Medical Center, where the mix-up had occurred, reached out to the families. A new administration was conducting a full audit of past negligence cases and had identified exactly how the switch had happened. The families were invited to a meeting with the hospital's administration. The decision of whether to bring the boys was intensely debated. "They're old enough to understand," Jennifer argued, "and it might be important for them to see the hospital taking responsibility. But we don't want to reopen emotional wounds that are already healing," Michael countered. In the end, they asked the boys themselves if they wanted to attend. Both said yes. At the meeting, the hospital's medical director, Dr. Nelson, explained with visible discomfort how the mix-up had occurred. An inexperienced nurse, working a double shift on a particularly hectic day, had temporarily mixed up the bassinets. The babies had been taken for routine tests and, upon returning, were placed in the wrong bassinets. "The protocols back then were less strict," he explained. "Today we have barcode bracelets, digital parent verification, and the babies never leave the sight of at least 2 professionals." Anthony, who had traveled specifically for the meeting, asked the question on everyone's mind. Why did it take so long to discover the mistake? The director swallowed hard. "Unfortunately, the mix-up was only identified during our retrospective audit. Without your complaint, we might never have found out." Amanda, in her lawyerly manner, asked about compensation. The hospital offered a substantial financial settlement, along with lifetime health coverage for the children, but the money seemed secondary compared to the emotional impact the situation had caused. After the meeting, the families gathered at a nearby cafe to process what they'd heard. The boys were surprisingly calm. "At least now we know exactly what happened," Jason remarked. "It's strange to think it was all because of a tired nurse," added Tyler. "How are you both feeling about all this?" Jennifer asked, concerned. Jason and Tyler exchanged glances. That silent communication that always seemed to exist between them. "Actually, we're okay," Tyler replied. "I mean, we already knew about the mix-up. Knowing how it happened doesn't change much." "It's more like closing a circle," Jason added, always more articulate. "Now we have the full story." Amanda watched the boys with admiration. Their emotional maturity was remarkable for their age. "What do you think we should do with the compensation offered by the hospital?" she asked. Jason tilted his head thoughtfully. "What if we used it to help other families who've been through tough times?" "A foundation," Tyler suggested eagerly. "We could create a foundation to help kids and families." The adults exchanged glances, impressed and moved by the boys' spontaneous generosity. And so, the New Bonds Foundation was born, an organization dedicated to supporting families in unconventional situations. Over the years, the foundation grew to offer everything from psychological counseling to legal assistance for adoptive, blended, or otherwise challenged families facing circumstances similar to what they themselves had experienced. The story of the 2 families who became one eventually reached the media, not as a scandal, but as an inspiring example of how love and flexibility can triumph over extraordinarily challenging circumstances. When the boys turned 16, a sensitive and respectful journalist asked them during an interview about the foundation if they had ever wondered how their lives might have been if the mix-up hadn't occurred. "Of course we have," replied Tyler, now a tall and articulate teenager. "I think everyone wonders about life's what-ifs, but the truth is, we can't change the past. And honestly, I'm not sure I'd want to, even if I could," Jason added. "We have an unusual family, no doubt, but we also have way more people supporting and loving us than most people do." The journalist smiled, clearly touched. "That's an amazingly mature perspective. We learned early that family isn't just about biology," Jason explained, glancing affectionately at Amanda, who was watching the interview from across the room. "It's about who's there for you, who loves and supports you no matter what." And in that sense, Tyler finished, sharing a meaningful look with Jennifer, "We're really, really lucky." Years later, when the boys were graduating from high, School Oakwood Academy held a special ceremony to honor their extraordinary families. Jennifer, now the school's educational director, personally presented the award to Amanda, while the two young men, about to pursue different paths in college, Jason for engineering, Tyler for journalism, watched with pride. 9 years ago, we discovered something that could have destroyed our families, Amanda said in her acceptance speech. Instead, we chose to expand our definition of family. Jennifer, standing beside her, added, "We learned that love isn't a limited resource that needs to be divided. It's something that multiplies when shared." The simple words summed up the extraordinary journey of two families that had become one, redefining in the process the very meaning of kinship and family love. That evening, as the families celebrated together at a restaurant, as they had on so many special occasions over the years, Jennifer observed the young men the boys had become. Jason, always the more reserved, had Michael's smile and Jennifer's thoughtful gestures. Tyler, outgoing and passionate, moved with Amanda's natural grace and Anthony's expressiveness. Nature and nurture, intertwined in ways impossible to separate. Biology and love complementing rather than competing. "What are you thinking about?" Michael asked, noticing her distant gaze. "About how everything could have been different," she replied. "If we had reacted with anger or fear or possessiveness, but we didn't," Michael reminded her. "We chose the harder path, perhaps, but also the most rewarding one." Across the table, Amanda raised her glass in a toast. "To our wonderfully unconventional family," she proposed, with a smile that had grown more frequent over the years. "To family," everyone echoed, including Kyle, now a young adult studying medicine, and Amanda's parents, who had become loving grandparents to both boys. As the glasses clinked, Jennifer thought about how sometimes life's greatest challenges can pave the way for the most beautiful possibilities. How a tragic mistake in a hospital could, through love and understanding, transform into a story of connection and growth. It hadn't been easy. There had been tears, doubts, moments of resentment and fear, but at every step, they had chosen love above all. Love for the boys, mutual respect among the adults, and the belief that together they could create something beautiful from what could have been a devastating situation. Looking at Tyler and Jason, now confident and compassionate young men, Jennifer knew they had made the right choice. "Sometimes," Jason said, as if reading her thoughts, "I think it was all some grand plan by the universe to create this crazy family." "If it was, it worked," Tyler laughed. "I can't imagine life without all of you." Neither could Jennifer. The pain of that initial discovery had, over the years, transformed into deep gratitude for the expansive, loving family they had built together. As she watched all those dear faces gathered around, sharing stories and laughter, Jennifer felt a profound peace. Life's paths were unpredictable, sometimes painful, often confusing, but with love, flexibility, and courage, even the most extraordinary challenges could turn into unexpected blessings. That was what she hoped Tyler and Jason would carry with them as they stepped into adulthood. The certainty that they were deeply loved, not just by their biological families, but by that extraordinary network of people who had chosen to open their hearts beyond the conventional boundaries of kinship. Their story, the story of all of them, would continue to unfold with new chapters yet to be written. Different universities, emerging careers, perhaps one day their own children, but the bonds forged through that extraordinary experience would remain a testament to the transformative power of love and the human ability to create beauty from chaos. And that, Jennifer reflected as she smiled at her extraordinary family, was the greatest gift that unusual situation had given them. Not just a new understanding of what it means to be family, but a chance to show the world that love, in its purest form, always finds a way. The end of the story. And you, what did you think of this story about families that go beyond blood ties? Have you ever imagined how you'd react in a situation like this? Leave your comment, subscribe to the channel for more heartwarming stories, and share it with someone who values the true meaning of family. Your support is our greatest encouragement.